So recently I've been seeing everyone talk about this guy, Mike Black. He's a self-proclaimed millionaire who decided to prove to everyone that becoming successful is purely hard work. No luck required. So he decided to willingly become homeless and make $1 million within a year, all while filming his journey and posting it on YouTube. And to no one's surprise, he failed miserably. After 10 months, he had made a little over $60,000 and decided to quit for health reasons. And as funny as it is that another rich dingus has once again failed to prove that, oh, I'm only successful because of hard work. I didn't get lucky at all. Privilege doesn't exist. Some of his defenders have pointed out that, hey, going from homeless to $60,000 is actually still impressive. And no, because for the record, it's $60,000 in revenue. This is not taking into account all the money he spent to supposedly make that $60,000. But you know what? Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on Mike, because this might be unpopular, but I truly believe you can go from being unhoused to being a millionaire within a year. For example, you could win the lottery, be in a Mr. Beast video, get hit by a bus and sue the city. All very realistic things to strive for. Jokes aside, I've now seen every episode of Mike's series on YouTube, and it is so much worse than I thought. Not only is Mike laughably bad at business, not only are there multiple moments that are either the best luck anyone could ever have, otherwise they are staged, but by the own rules that Mike wrote for this challenge, he cheated. So today, I'm gonna take you on the entire journey of Mike Black LARPing as a homeless man, explain to you what he tried to do, the goals he set out with, and how he inevitably failed miserably. So this experiment and Mike Black's entire project takes place in July of 2020, which is the middle of the global lockdown. You know, the one for something that if I mention right here, I'll get demonetized. Millions of people have lost their jobs, small businesses across the world are shutting down, and people need inspiration. People need a millionaire to tell them, hey, you're poor because you don't try hard enough. In comes Mike Black with a brilliant idea. He'll go to Austin, Texas with $0 in his bank account, the clothes on his back, a smartphone with a data plan, and all the knowledge in his noggin, and become a millionaire. Oh, yeah, also an entire production team. See, what Mike Black is trying to show people is that even if you're homeless, even if you lost your job and you're now impoverished, you could still come back and become a millionaire within a year.
I believe right now is one of the best times to reinvent yourself, and so I'm putting everything on the line to prove it. I drained my bank account to $0, got rid of all my belongings, and I cut off my entire network.
But what he's really saying is if you are poor, it's simply because you are choosing to be and you're not working hard enough, unlike me. And he's failing to realize that he's still giving himself massive advantages just having a smartphone with a data plan that is virtually free is wild, and he doesn't seem to understand that, because one of the first things he tries when he is supposedly homeless in Austin is panhandling money by asking people to Venmo him.
I'm gonna try to panhandle and make a couple bucks. It'll be interesting if I can get people to Venmo me.
I'm just saying, if you come up to someone and say, hey, I need $1 for food, here's my Venmo on my $1,000 iPhone, I'm not gonna give you money. On top of having a smartphone and internet to do business on as an advantage, we can also acknowledge that, you know, he is a well-groomed man with decent hygiene, so people aren't going to kick him out of places. We can also acknowledge that he has an entire production team, which basically ensures his physical safety, that no one is going to try and rob him. And he also has the safety net of being able to quit at any time, which allows him to not worry about food, as he puts it.
I'm not worried about food at all. I can go a couple days without eating, so I'm not worried about food.
If you actually don't have food safety, you can't afford to put food on the back burner. You need to try and find your next meal now. I can't put 2 days into hustling. Your worst case scenario is that this experiment doesn't work out, so you go to McDonald's because you're hungry. Not everyone has that luxury. But even with all of these advantages going for Mike, it's still way tougher than he thought, and he starts breaking down crying. No one in downtown Austin will Venmo him. The free water cup that someone gave him was too small, and he doesn't want to pee in an alley.
All right, I didn't think I was gonna have to do this, but I have to piss. I didn't think everything was gonna be freaking closed in Austin, so I have to go find an alley.
It's almost like being homeless is really hard, and LARPing as a homeless man for clout online is a terrible idea. But then Mike makes his big break. He meets a man online, Isaac, who decides to let Mike crash on his couch.
This kid hit me up and said like, hey man, you can crash here. He's 10 miles east from where I'm at right now. And I told him my situation, and he was so kind that he offered to pick me up.
Wait, what story, Mike? That you're LARPing as a homeless man? What's your story? You're lying to him to get him to stay on your couch. Is that what you're encouraging people to do? Just lie to get into strangers' homes? Also, I just want to point out, so you were never homeless. You never slept on the street or anything. You always had a place to stay. Which, you know, Isaac seems like a really nice person. I don't doubt that nice people like him exist that would let a stranger who just seems down on their luck and, you know, reasonably well-groomed stay on their couch. But you also have to acknowledge that that is not something that everybody can replicate, that you just got extremely lucky. Actually, this feels way too lucky to the point of feeling staged, because spoiler, Isaac lets Mike crash in his RV for 7 weeks. And this RV that Mike is now getting to stay at for free has free Wi-Fi, Isaac is lending him food, it has communal showers that he can use. Outside of this being just way too good to be true, I don't have any proof that this is fake, but he also never shows Isaac's face, and I just have a tough time wrapping my head around the fact that you found the one person in America who would let a supposed homeless person stay on their couch for 7 weeks that they have just never met before. This entire series is very infuriating to me. So the first couple weeks, Mike is hustling and trying to make money, mostly by flipping couches online. And I've done this before. It's a good way to make a couple $100, but nothing that you can live off of. The first 2 or 3 days, Mike manages to get $300. So now we can actually see how an entrepreneur is able to reinvest that money into themselves to make more money. It's pretty simple stuff. Mike buys some groceries, some toiletries so he can be well kept. He goes out and buys a used Chromebook for $180, so now he can do business on a laptop versus just on his smartphone, but he still has the free Wi-Fi from the RV. He also buys 10 different outfits from Goodwill. Like, I get that right now he only has the clothes on his back and they're probably really stinky, but 10 different outfits seems like way too much. And later on, he says that, oh, it's so I don't have to do laundry as often. You know, laundry is a time-wasting cost that you don't need.
I don't want to do laundry very often, so I can let that laundry bag pile up, so then I don't have to spend as much on laundry, don't have to spend time on laundry, don't even think about laundry.
Dude, how long do you think laundry takes? You just throw it in a machine, press the button, and then you can go back to work. It doesn't take that long. He just really gives off the vibe as someone who hasn't done laundry in years. Which is actually a theme, because let me tell you, Mike is really bad at being impoverished. Now I, Charlie, have been lucky enough to never have been in a financially dicey situation, but I have been a broke college student. You know, I worked all the way through college to afford to be able to go out with friends and to eat out. I dumpster dove and resold textbooks. I bought and resold computers. I worked at the school mess hall, things like that. Mike gives off the vibe that he's never lived anywhere but a mansion. At the RV park he's staying at, they're using a communal shower and he keeps leaving his toiletries there and they keep getting stolen, and he can't fathom why anyone would steal valuable products like that. In fact, in the communal showers, he doesn't wear flip-flops, so he starts to develop athlete's foot. You should wear flip-flops. Anyone who's used a college dorm shower or has even been to a public pool knows that. And that's not even getting into his spending habits. So in the first 16 days, Mike makes about $554. And that's a decent amount for 2 weeks if you're going from nothing. But how much of that did he spend? He spent 552 of it. His bank account has $2. Mostly because he's spending $110 on food in 2 weeks. How are you spending that much? Even Isaac is giving you some meals. That's more money than I spend on food a week, and I live in the middle of San Francisco. There's also the $80 he spent on shirts so he doesn't have to do laundry. And oh wait, what's this? What's this $40 he spent on an office? This is actually the second thing I find super suspicious about Mike's whole journey to $1 million, is he gets super frustrated with the free Wi-Fi in the free RV that he's staying in and decides that he needs a better place to do business. So he finds a co-working space online, sort of like a WeWork space where different people can rent out and share an office, and he gets it for $40 a month. That's not real. I refuse to believe that's real. I looked it up. Even today in Austin, Texas, the cheapest office space you can rent is $125 a week. He's getting this for $40 a month. At that point, don't live anywhere. Just sleep at the office. That's $40 a month. That is wildly cheap. That is less than you spend on food in a week. I refuse to believe that this is a real place that is profiting. Even during lockdown, that is absurdly low. But now that Mike has found his unicorn office space, we can get down to business. Oh yeah! He tries to start a cleaning company, it fails. He tries to start a TikTok agency, and it fails. Then he tries to start an e-commerce business, and it does all right, I guess. Like, not stellar, but he makes a couple $1,000 from it. All in a day's work for an entrepreneur. In all seriousness, he actually just starts working a bunch of odd jobs, like he's telemarketing, he's working as a virtual assistant to a law firm. And I have to ask, Mike, how'd you apply for those jobs? Did you use your actual resume, or did you lie and just make one up? Because that's another thing that a lot of impoverished people won't have access to. And just to hammer in how much Mike, even playing field black, is being helped out, Isaac, the guy he is staying with for free, lets him borrow his car so that Mike can do Uber Eats and food deliveries.
Isaac lent me his car today. Let's do it. That car life, baby. We're working our way out of bean life.
Absolutely not. This did not happen. A stranger you met a couple weeks ago did not let you borrow their car. I've known people for years that would not let me drive their car. This did not happen. And even working all of those jobs, he still manages to lose all of his money because he overdraws his bank account by $4. Maybe it's because he's spending it on stupid things like a second laptop, because he realizes he doesn't think the first one is good enough, even though the office space he's renting has free computers to use. Personally, I think it's because he went back and bought more shirts. That is not a joke.
This shirt is freaking disgusting.
Now, you may be thinking at this point, wow, it actually seems like Mike Black is not good at business. And you would be right. Once flipping furniture begins to really slow down, Mike looks for other sort of things he can buy and flip for profit. And one of those is bicycles. Except Mike runs into a lot of trouble when he realizes he doesn't know anything about bicycles. He continually buys used bikes through like Facebook Marketplace, thinking he's gonna flip them for like $300, $400, and then it turns out they're worth nothing, and he gets frustrated. When his e-commerce business somehow manages to swindle their first client, he gets $1,500 in his bank account, the most he's ever had, and he immediately goes out and buys 4 bicycles for $900, and then by his own admittance, can't sell them.
You may have seen that I bought 4 bikes. I have not sold any of those bikes yet. Potentially a bad investment.
This man has the essence of Ed, and Eddie, except with none of the charm and all of the incompetence. He buys like 5 or 6 bicycles throughout this series and sells maybe one of them. This is also where I began to realize that Mike is honestly a really rude and aggressive person when things don't go his way. Like, he tries to buy a bicycle on Facebook Marketplace and the woman ends up ghosting him, and he straight up says to her,
Before you to Facebook, hope you get hit by a bus.
You put that up?
Yeah.
At another point, he goes to a local Goodwill. He sees a bike that he thinks is worth like $300, $400. So he buys it and takes it to a repair shop, and it turns out to be worth nothing. And he blames the Goodwill, even though it was him doing the research.
To walk into Goodwill and thank them for selling me a trash bike.
He goes there all upset, but then he calms down and he buys more shirts. So at this point in the project, there's a huge stretch of episodes where outside of Isaac moving away and him having to find a new place, nothing really happens. The series is structured so that 1 week of Mike doing this project equates to one episode of the series, but because for the past couple weeks literally nothing has been going well for Mike and his businesses aren't making money, he doesn't have anything to talk about. So the episode is instead about him being so inspirational and making this series and trying to give pseudo business lectures to people, even though none of his businesses are working. And it's the typical, oh, I'm a hustler, woe is me as I suffer on screen. Oh, every successful person ever has suffered. Oh, working for free isn't actually a bad thing. Oh, you should try to cut costs where you can. Oh, and tell me, Michael, what is the largest cost you can cut?
I want you to evaluate your finances. The biggest expense most people have is rent. So if you can lower your rent and live in a dump.
Oh, dude, you're so right. I should try to cut my rent budget. Let me just ask to stay on my friend's RV couch for 7 weeks. When Mike isn't literally watching TikTok for 2 hours a day and calling it research, he's really trying to build up 3 different businesses. The first of which is his e-commerce business, which is really just him taking e-commerce jobs on Upwork and then hiring overseas freelancers to do it instead of him. So he's really not doing any work, but he's making a little bit of money from it. Another is a coffee business. He meets someone at a local farmer's market who grows and grinds their own beans, and he goes up to them and is sort of like, hey, can I buy your coffee, repackage it, and sell it online? And the coffee maker is like, dude, why not? And the third is one I actually want to talk about that he calls rent hacking. The idea is essentially he rents out a large house, say a 5-bedroom house for $4,000 a month. He would live in one of the bedrooms and sublet the other 4 for $1,000 a month. Therefore, he's living there essentially for free. And if he can manage to sublet the other 4 rooms for, say, $1,200 a month, he's actually making $800 just by existing. And that business plan actually sounds pretty good on paper until you realize that you are overcharging people for those rooms and they'll see right through that. If there is any sort of real estate competition in your area, you're gonna lose because you're overcharging by hundreds of dollars. So Mike has to create value to living there outside of just getting the room. So what kind of value can he create? Well, he decides to market the house as a founder's house, and that by living there, you'll be living with other entrepreneurs, because then you can learn from the great Mike Black and bounce ideas off of other up-and-coming hustlers. But wait, Mike, I thought rent was a huge expenditure that we should be trying to lower. Are you telling me that I shouldn't be living in Isaac's RV for 7 weeks, and instead I should be paying you $400 extra in rent to just live in the same proximity as you? Dude, being an entrepreneur is difficult. I just don't get it. I don't know which pieces of advice are worse. Now, at this point, Mike gets super cocky in the series. You know, his e-commerce business is doing okay. He's in talks to do the coffee company, and he has already decided that he has succeeded with his rent hack despite not signing everything, because he starts bragging about it.
Yeah, we're not like making millions of dollars, but look at this. Gonna be living potentially in a mansion rent-free. I'm getting on calls with big tech companies pitching them on running their social media. I'm starting a coffee brand. I have a coffee dude now in Austin. I mean, everything's going in the direction. Dude, 3 months ago, I was homeless.
Now, I just want to point out, Mike, that none of that stuff has actually happened yet. You know, I was once in the same room as Weird Al Yankovic, so I can't wait for my accordion career to take off. I'm gonna become the next big thing. But it really irks me how much Mike uses the term, oh, I was homeless 3 months ago. No, you weren't. You were staying on Isaac's couch for 7 weeks. You never slept on the street, my dude. You have to understand, Mike, that just by being healthy, you have an advantage over a lot of unhoused people, many of which have health conditions, both physical and mental, or maybe even substance addictions. And no, buying clothing at Goodwill does not count as an addiction. So really, you can't expect other people to drop everything and just start hustling with 3 different businesses, especially because of your 3, 2 of them really didn't work out. And as much as I could dunk on Mike for this is where he actually has a very good reason to quit the project. In week 19, Mike learns that his father back in Philadelphia has been diagnosed with a serious illness. And so Mike, saying that, oh, you know, family and health are the most important things, decides to pack it up, go back to Philadelphia, and stop the project altogether. Nope! He goes back to Philadelphia and decides to exploit his father's illness for clout! Let's go! Yeah, Mike, call your dad on the phone and ask him to explain his serious illness to all the viewers at home.
Where is the cancer?
Yeah, they said it's in my lungs, my liver, of course my colon, but they said my arm.
It's actually very, very vile. I really dislike Mike for doing this. I have so many moral and political objections to what Mike Black is trying to accomplish and prove with this project. I think it's elitist and clout chasey, but on a personal level, once you learn that your dad had a life-threatening illness, you should have dropped everything to go be with him. The fact you tried to cling on to the project is very gross, especially because you just straight up start cheating at this point. What Mike does at this point is, because he can't really continue with the rent hacking house, he ropes in his girlfriend and his employee to start running his coffee business. And can Mike afford to pay 2 employees now? Nope.
Deirdre doesn't get paid shit.
Deirdre also buys him food multiple times, gives him rides places, and he gets to go back to Philadelphia and live in their nice, cushy, furnished apartment. But, I mean, I'm being hard on him. It's not like that's against the rules. Oh wait, relying on your girlfriend to buy you food and give you rides and live in your apartment is specifically mentioned in the things you won't do in the rules that you wrote and are still on your website 3 years later? And listen, I understand that the situation has changed for you, but then why continue the project at all? If you're not going to keep true to the nature and rules that you set out, you might as well just quit and spend time with your dad, because as you put it, you're still working so much on this project that you're not hanging out with him. By week 32, Mike has taken over his father's accounting business, which apparently is a thing that just homeless people should do. And the honeymoon mist surrounding hustler culture is beginning to dissolve. And Mike realizes, I kind of want to quit this project. It's terrible. He's working 80 hours a week, 40 of which is just going to filming this, and he realizes he's only spending 5 hours a week on the e-commerce business and doing absolutely no work on the coffee business, because once again, his girlfriend and his employee are the ones running that now. This is no longer the fun, quirky adventure that he thought it would be. And eventually, by week 43, he full-on quits. He goes to a doctor and realizes that working 80-hour weeks can actually take a huge toll on your physical health, and that doctors have recommended that he not do that. He finishes with the $60,000 in revenue and conveniently never shows us how much he spent to make that. You know, he's very emotional here. He's not the person who likes giving up and quitting, but he has to because of his health reasons. And I have no sympathy for him. I want to feel bad for you. You know, your family is sick, you have health conditions now, but I can't. You chose to put yourself in this situation. Homelessness and 80-hour work weeks are not a fun YouTube challenge. It's a genuine reality for so many people, and you tried to downplay that by saying, well, if they really tried hard, they wouldn't be homeless. You tried to prove that you're a millionaire because of hard work and nothing else, and you failed. You were given so many handouts. You were given a smartphone with an unlimited data plan. You were given physical safety. Isaac let you stay on his couch for 7 weeks. Your girlfriend decided to just start running your companies for you, and you still couldn't even crack 6 figures. I also want to say, with the story going super viral, Mike Black has spoken out and said, "Oh, actually, you guys are wrong. The project was never about homelessness." Yes, it was. Throughout this series, you're claiming, "Look, I went from homeless to this in 6 months."
Being homeless sucks. Homeless 3 months ago.
So yes, it was. I would have been so much less hard on you if you had simply been humbled. But 3 years later, you are still defending the decision and telling other people that they should quit their jobs and do this to start hustling, and you'll become millionaires too. No! You won't. Because yes, Mike made $60,000 in revenue, but he also never divulges how much of that is actually profit, and not to mention that he supposedly spent $300,000 to market this series. So if we think about that, he lost at least $240,000 through this whole experiment. Mike, you failed, you were wrong, and you need to own it. Now, I want to end this video on a lighter note because I've been very negative and frustrated with Mike because of his very annoying philosophies. So I just want to say that if you are in a dicey financial situation, if you are worried about rent, if you are worried about being unhoused, if you are worried about where your next meal is going to come from, I'm going to include a lot of resources in the description below, so please check that out. And I want to make it very clear. I think going from homelessness to a millionaire in a year might be possible. You know, strikes of lightning do happen, but trying to say it's anything but complete luck is a pipe dream. But that's not to say you can't go from being impoverished to successful. You just have to not have unrealistic expectations. So please be realistic. Don't give up. You'll get there. Just don't buy into assholes like this who are insisting that you are poor because it's your own fault and you are choosing to. Sometimes things happen that are outside of our control, and Mike can't really say that he had full control over finding a $40 office space and meeting Isaac, who, if you are a real person, is the only hero in this video. Have a damn nice rest of y'all's day.